Okay, we're gonna have like all this background. For some reason, it's not letting me control my camera. 1 second. Let's see, camera control. Yeah, it's not letting me zoom in or anything. It's really weird. I mean, I guess this is fine if you want to have all this stuff in the background, but I was trying to zoom in. I don't know why it's not letting me. Oh, wait a minute. What camera is on? Oh, I see why. Okay, I got you. Logitech. Here we go. All right, there we go. Hi-ho. Hold on a second. All right. Is that good right there?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Let me get on you guys.
All right, I think we're live. Are we live? We're
We're live. Hi, everybody.
How's everybody doing? Welcome back to our studios here at Intrepid Studios. We are excited to have you on our Friday 3 p.m. stream. We do these every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We have a special guest with us today, DJ Tech Live.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see you. Nice to meet everybody in the audience.
Yeah, we've got a good show. DJ Tech is going to be giving us some pretty cool questions, and we look forward to answering them. Just a first note, you know, we're so excited to see how amazing the Kickstarter is doing, and we're grateful for everyone's backing us, and you know, really, oh, we have a cat on the screen.
What is that?
I don't know. We're really grateful for everyone just coming out and showing your support for a change in the industry. You know, myself and everyone on the team are avid MMORPG players, and we're passionate about this project and making sure that we can get the best game possible out there to really get us back to the roots of what made
God, you're gonna do it again. Oh my God.
what made MMORPG so good. Yeah, okay, it's just so good. Anyways, so Tech, we're pretty excited to have you.
Thank you.
I know you got some cool questions for us.
Yes, it's a pleasure. We've been searching for that MMO for a very, very long time that from the West that we can actually call home. I mean, the generation of MMOers have completely changed. I like to say anywhere between the 28 and maybe the 28 and up crowd, we were the hardcores, right? Like we spent so much time playing MMOs and dedicated so much of our lives and actually developed what guilds really were and so on and so forth. And nowadays it's all about who can play the things the fastest, who can get to the end the fastest, and forget about the MMO and then complain about it afterwards. So like, it's a pleasure to see the attempt and the work that you guys are putting in, and I'm very, very happy for you to have me here, and everyone in the audience should be extremely happy about what they are doing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we're really excited that people are excited about it. You know, this is the game that we thought needed to happen, and to get, you know, proof that this is actually what people want to see is pretty satisfying.
And I think so many people sharing the vision that we set out is just unbelievable.
I think it sends a great message to the industry also. You know, I think that maybe, you know, companies have kind of lost their way in their development of MMORPGs, and that's kind of led to the stagnation of good games out there recently in development. And I think that this Kickstarter and the amazing support we've seen with it really goes to reverberate throughout the entire industry. Hey, watch these guys. They're hitting the points that resonate with the community, and maybe we should take that into consideration next time we decide
take
to develop
those
a game.
risks again, because I mean, you know, we realize that MMOs are a risky business, but if you design for the player, right, I think that, you know, they will come.
Oh, so. Yeah, absolutely.
If you build it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about drawing the crowd in. You're gonna get the hardcore people, of course. Whether they say they feel bad about the game or not, they're gonna be there no matter what. Those are the guys that criticize you all day, and you're gonna get the influence that support you. Like, your Kickstarter was absolutely insane. Like, I was watching it, blinked, and it was over. So I was just like, all right, this is great. And then you got a lot of support from really, really big streamers out there, and they're really excited because they have drifted away from MMOs because of the way MMOs went. And for them to throw that much support you guys' way shows a lot. So you guys are doing well. So I don't want to take too much because I can run my mouth about this all day.
So anyway, it's cool.
We're going to start with this. Question number one. This is made by the community, and I kind of read over them, and I'll probably extend a little bit on it if I need to. What would be the benefits of going the same subclass as main class? So I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. So a lot of games offers very unique ways to build your character, because uniqueness is where everyone wants to be. A lot of people like being the character, not just playing it. And so what I mean by that is normally video games have one character, start off as a swordsman class, and then you have 3 brackets that you can build in. And the cool video games out there lets you pull from each side of it. But you get these guys that make these cookie cutter builds, and there's no point in playing a bard when you could play a sniper class, so to speak, or whatever. How would you guys make it different to where most classes can be viable and it all depends on the player?
That's a great question, and I think that our class system is pretty unique in the sense that what we're allowing people to do is stick with that core traditional role that was prevalent early on in the MMORPG genre, where you have these archetypes, and that's your primary class in Ashes of Creation. And then we wanted to include that customization aspect, not only through the progression of your primary class, but in choosing a secondary archetype that's going to not necessarily grant you new skills, but instead give you the flavor of what that different archetype can do to your existing skills. And we gave a great example when we discussed our classes in a blog recently about how the fighter class has that rush ability, and if you were to take the mage secondary, you could apply a teleportation augment to the rush, and instead of rushing to your target, you would teleport to the target. So you keep that primary skill, but you're having an adaptation, an augment from a different archetype that flavors the way your class interacts a bit.
Right.
And I think if you want to go into a little bit about the tank thing.
Yeah, so it's when you're talking about doubling down on the same class, right? Like that's a person who really wants to be that specific archetype. So, like, say we're talking about a tank, right? And you go tank primary, tank secondary. That means that you are that archetypical, huge plate wearing, giant shield, unmovable object, and so that's what that will be based around. The secondary will still have augments that do the same thing that if you went to a mage or a fighter or a rogue, but those augments will kind of further solidify you in that role and give you more options in how you want to do that tanky build. So one of the examples there is you have a taunt. That taunt, snaps aggro from a guy, it increases your hate, and it brings him to you. Well, if you go tank, you might get an augment that allows you to modify your tank or your taunt skill, and adds a reflection shield to you at the same time, so that while that taunt is active, the creature is also taking spike damage based on how hard it's hitting you. Right. Okay. So it's about kind of finding how you want to express your role and how you want to make that role happen. So if you did a tank rogue, you might be based a little bit more on evasion tanking than you would on purely plate tanking. Okay. A tank is going to be based more purely on full-on damage mitigation. Right. So that's how we're planning on going with that.
Yeah.
Very nice. That's very unique, and I can't wait to see it in action. The question number 2 is: will there be any implement of a game payment system for role players, like hiring mercenaries, defend your supplies, towns? Node seems to be a very, very big part of your game. I think it's really intelligent the way you guys done it, especially with the map view. How will that play a role in the game?
Hiring mercenary guilds and stuff?
Yeah, are you talking about hiring other players or hiring NPCs?
Let's say both.
So both.
Well, I think that the interaction between players, obviously we're going to want to facilitate that within some type of UI that could potentially include a system like a hiring process. And I think that the majority of the responsibility lays on the players and their interaction with each other in order to facilitate that kind of interaction. I think from an NPC perspective, there are a lot of systems in place in the open world that include the ability to hire guards. The player-run governments are going to be able to add additional security to the walls potentially for a siege. The castles are going to have guild leaders that are going to be able to purchase mercenary NPCs for different siege locations on the
Caravans as
battlefield.
well,
Caravans specifically are going to have NPCs that are capable of being assigned to caravans based on certain developments in the zone and developments for the leading castle of that region. We want to have a lot of interaction there between these systems, I think.
Right.
Okay. So these NPCs, let's speak on that. A lot of games just kind of throw I like to call it a dumb AI within it. So they stick to a path. They're built on a path system. They go there, they walk kind of aimlessly there. Will these NPCs have some kind of intelligence if you're trusting, especially guarding something so important that you spend so much time on? Will they have any kind of intelligence or maybe a learning system? How do you guys plan on implementing that?
I mean, it's going to be pretty similar to how our monsters work. We're working on an AI system right now that will give some intelligence to it. I mean, we're not going to be an IBM. What was the name of that?
The computer, Watson?
Watson. Yeah, it's not. We're not going to have Watson, but we are.
We should have Watson.
We should have Watson.
Question and be like, what's the meaning of life?
But we want to do things like give these guys character. We don't want them to be necessarily dumb, guys that you send out to kill. I mean, we want them to have a story of their own that they can tell you. They will have an AI that functions as well as our. Okay, sorry.
Wow. What was that? Was that the Moonstrider?
Yeah.
I think that was
Nice.
a Moonstrider. Our video guy is having a little bit of fun right now, I guess.
Bacon.
That was an example
Sorry,
of the
I'm getting
NPC
distracted.
clearly, right? So that's what the NPC
Right.
All right. Answers.
No, we're going to have a really, just to answer your question very, very shortly, we're going to have a very robust AI system.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great new technology today, specifically in regards to AI systems in games. And I think that because our development is so fresh, we're capable of utilizing that technology in our game that really hasn't been seen in other MMORPG projects. So we're going to have a very robust AI system.
Awesome. Let's see. We know there's a trade system from town to town, but will towns be able to ally each other and benefit from an alliance? So let's say town A is efficient in fishing and town B is efficient in mining. Will they be able to way to form an alliance and work together?
We definitely have systems in place that account for player-run governments to interact with each other from node to node. And that interaction can include cooperation on certain events, certain trade mechanics. It could include even potentially alliances if siege come about. It could also include potentially even conflict to arise between nodes, creating this sort of pseudo-faction between the citizens. Yeah, I think that's a pretty important aspect to our development for nodes.
Yeah, and I think that what you're alluding to sounds like our trade agreements.
Yeah.
So, between nodes, like your example, I think was fish and iron. So, we're trying to set up a competitive advantage amongst the many nodes and the regions. So we're trying to have trade agreements to give the players a bit of agency to, I don't want to really say combat, but more so to navigate that situation and have them work together or against each other to make their own node more successful economically.
Interesting, because that will bring apart a very cool way to structure and evolve the world. So a problem that I see in a lot of MMOs is that I'm not going to say any, but there's this one MMO.
That's fine.
I know.
We know what you're
there's
talking
one
about. That's
MMO that allows static housing and development and stuff like that. But you just go out and pick a house somewhere next to the richest spots to grab stuff. Now, it would be cool if there was a port side where there's lots of big fish are prevalent, stuff that are very highly sought after. In the mining side, when it comes to any wars within the nodes or castle sieges, that will play a role in that, not just everyone just go out and get whatever, and go out there.
I hear you 100% on that, and myself and everyone here on the team being huge MMORPG players, We've played every MMORPG under the sun, and we're coming at this with all of that experience and saying, what did they do wrong? Where was the designers on this aspect? And saying, okay, we need to make sure that we tackle these issues from day one in our development and account for that in our design theory.
And we'll just say, like, there will be reasons to fight over territory.
Absolutely.
People will gain things if they were able to destroy that node, and there will be a reason for people to fight. It's not just going to be random. Oh, there's a house here. Oh, there's a house here. There's going to be purpose behind it, and that purpose is going to be something that we are consistently returning to.
And not only that, but another aspect of specifically in regards to housing, and our freeholds specifically, that we have 3 different types of housing, but our freeholds are going to have certain player interactable designs that allow for visitors to come and potentially, eat at an inn or at a tavern or rest at an inn, and that will grant some benefits while they're within proximity of that player's housing. So it is going to be important to make sure that your freehold is positioned in areas that would attract traffic, and that is something to take into account when you're out there surveying for the right lands to place a home.
And we're also talking about some pretty cool systems that I probably shouldn't talk about yet.
Please do. Continue.
We're talking about having different types of terrain give different benefits to your freehold.
Yes.
So that, like, let's say that you are a person who is really into agriculture and your farms. So, if you build next to a really nice river, that river is going to give you bonuses above and beyond what you might, find somewhere in the forest. So there's going to be, reasons to seek out good pieces of land. And be creative in how you build your farms with what is out there, and to discover, different things that we've put out in the world that we're not going to talk about right now.
Yeah, I think like anything that we add that adds the player to be able to make a choice for a reason is just a huge part of our development. Like the terrain being there, we want them to feel that they're next to a river. I mean, because it looks pretty, but not the only reason, right? Because it gives them benefits. I want to be in a desert for a reason. I want to be next to a mountain for a reason. So, those are the few of the things that we think of it in every aspect of development.
That was a great answer. That made us. I'm pretty sure everybody's pretty happy and can't wait to jump in to be able to not just mindlessly grab land and be the first one to be able to get it, but make strategic moves and thoughts behind it. And
well, that's actually, you brought up, I'm sorry, one additional point. Yes. Our housing and development is a huge aspect of the game.
Awesome.
But specifically in regards to this is going to be another land grab, like game, quote unquote,
Hey.
But it's not going to be that case, because progression in our world in regards to owning land and owning those freeholds comes with a third stage of node development. So it's not going to be like everybody gets into the server and boom, there's third stage nodes everywhere. There's no nodes everywhere. You have to build it. And as players develop those nodes in certain regions, that's when housing becomes available. And that's going to be different for all over the world. And there's going to be continually new nodes that are popping up. And ours isn't, I think that's pretty much it.
No, that's great. I like the fact that we're shaping the world, so to speak. If a player goes out and does rush things, that they build a node and other players can come in and live. And I would like to touch, I don't know if the chat heard on one of their previous interviews that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because things could change.
They can always change.
Housing, we are all afraid that someone was going to jump and get the housing, or afraid of that. So I heard there are apartments. So I'm the type of person that loves to explore everything before trying to jump down the barrel of a gun and really fire off and get everything that I can. But that means I'm not going to be the fastest one to grab a node and build or whatever. The fact that you have housing for people that that take a little bit longer to dive into the game, that like to analyze their situations, I think that's really great. Is that still a thing for you guys?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So the housing in regards to our apartment systems is an instanced form of housing. We have 2 open world housing forms. That's our in-node housing. Those are static homes that are available in a node, and you purchase them or rent them or whatever it's going to be. And then there are apartments, which are instance, and there's freeholds, which are out in the open world as well. So the apartment aspect of it is, if a player-run government of a node decides to to begin developing an apartment complex within the node that's going to grant citizens, or excuse me, players the ability to go to that area and rent or purchase an apartment in that's going to be an instance form. So, we're not locking out players in development based off of the land rush idea of when that node propagates, but instead people have the ability to come in a little bit later and get that instance apartment and become a citizen of that node.
Awesome. Right. Now I'm going to hit on a subject that I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to hear, and that's called PvP. Okay. I'm a very big PvPer, but I feel a lot of MMOs, especially the Eastern market, has definitely kind of watered it down and made it to whoever has the best gear, no matter how skillful you are. If you get a couple of hits in, you destroy everyone. Whether there's NPCs protecting the lands that you're in or not, doesn't matter. Person has the best gear, can sit on a game for 13 hours a day and get the best gear, can kill anyone. Now, you guys will have NPCs, I'm pretty sure NPCs and regular players populate the lands. How will you make PvP a thing that doesn't just become something that's redundant on farming and grinding for gear, and then make it a part of the world to where we benefit from it, and also get PvEers involved in the PvP as well?
That's a very good question. And has a lot of range in the topic.
I'm trying to think of
it. No. So, obviously, I played a lot of PvP-centric games, and I played a lot of PvE-centric games, and what's been difficult in the past as a gamer experiencing these different titles is the comfortable blend between the two. And then when you find that blend is also having, as you said, like, hey, is this going to be a two-shot, from a DPS class that's a glass cannon, and he's going to kill a tank instantly, and there's not going to be any skill or strategy involved? Or is it going to be dependent purely on, like, the person who's playing 20 hours a day, and then I, as a casual player, have no role to play in PvP? We need to find, obviously, the balance in Ashes of Creation, which is what we're doing, that allows for progression to play a role. It allows for skill to play a role. It allows for class balancing to play a role. And these fights will include strategy and take some time to account for what that strategy is that the players are using. Okay. It is definitely something we're cognizant of, and it is something that is in our design theory. We don't want to be what you just described. Hey, I got blasted away by a guy that has the best gear in the game.
A lot of that has to do with numbers and tuning them and making sure that the ceiling is close enough to the floor where people can actually interact meaningfully. When you let those numbers kind of run out of control and there is just this huge tier problem, that's when that problem happens. Right. And that's when skill goes out the door and numbers become the most important thing. And that's something that we are working towards, but it's a huge numbers game. Yeah. And it's something that's going to take us a long time to nail down and balance and get right. But it's a goal of ours from the beginning to make sure that what you described right now doesn't happen.
And the place for the PvEers, the people who are not necessarily as inclined to participate in those PvP situations, they place the importance of the world when it comes to PvP. If you don't have a strong, solid PvE focus as a game, then there's not much meaning to whatever PvP is going to provide. You can find straight PvP in a MOBA. You want to go play a MOBA 5v5, you're going to get PvP every day in different sessions. In an MMORPG, you need to focus on what the world means to you as a player, and then that catalyst for meaningful conflict, which is PvP, is something that's way more important for all the peoples on the server.
And I think, like, with our node system, we kind of create this feedback loop that no matter what your motivation is, if it's just PvE, if it's just PvP, if it's both, you're affecting the world. Right. And if I'm a PvEer and Jeff is a PvPer, by me going out there and maybe I just want to mine, like all I'm doing is mining ore all day. Okay, well, guess what? That's affecting the node that Jeff lives in. Right. That's affecting how PvE is affecting his play cycle, right? My play cycle is affecting him, and we don't even have to meet each other. Absolutely. So we put that feedback loop in there for the world to function together, even if they're not necessarily interacting purely with each other on a person-to-person basis.
Good point, Peter. That was a very good point.
I like that. That's pretty amazing. Another way that I think will be pretty cool is if the PvEers can affect the PvPers in battle as well. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of people, and typically when you're in a good guild, you have people that excel at different things, such as collecting and crafting, which is a huge part of the world that gets left behind a lot of the times. A lot of people speak that crafting is such this big web of things you can do, but at the end of the day, people just go out and find gear and upgrade it till plus 12.
Right.
Crafters don't matter. So what if PvE or A can craft amazing gear, and they're sought after by different guilds and factions or whatever, or no factions, excuse me, guilds, and they want to recruit them, and then those PvEers still take part in PvP, but don't actually have to go into battle because let's be real, there's a lot of PvEers that want to do it.
Me and Steven just smiled at each other. Yeah. We've had this exact same conversation.
This is a great point that you're bringing up. I mean, so many times, again, the whole reason why I even got started with Ashes of Creation is because often I found that people weren't playing the roles they wanted to play necessarily. They were either pigeonholed into one category or the other, and there was no intermixing of the two, as you just described. I for a long time when playing MMOs, I ran a very large guild, and I always made sure that there was a role to be played by anybody in the game that they wanted to do, whether it be the PvEer or the PvPer. They were interconnected in some way, shape, or form. And you gave a great example where crafting is a very centric application when it comes to PvP, and we've placed a huge emphasis on the economy and crafting when developing the design of this game.
Yeah, crafters are going to be core to a lot of equipment progression and economic progression. It's going to be difficult to really participate in the economy if you're not participating in the crafting section of it. Yeah. And those people who really want to specialize in crafting, right, or specialize in a specific part of crafting, there's going to be actual mechanics to make their name known, to make them, hey, this is Muramasa who is making, this amazing sword, and he specializes in making this kind of sword, and people are going to seek him out and try to find him. There's so
what
much
about
fun.
Yeah. Why didn't Numine make a sword?
Could be Numine.
But yeah, that's just one of, identity is a huge concept for us with the class system, with this system, when we want you to be able to, just be the character, have your own identity, and we think that being known for crafting a certain thing, as I get, or as Steven gets eaten by an owlbear, as Bug Dawnbreaker. Now I lost my complete train of thought. But that's okay.
I was scared.
It's live.
Wow. If you guys implement that, that's amazing. I mean, that's what's missing in MMOs these days is the feeling of being wanted as a group, right? Everyone's soloing stuff, and you can put a guild name in there all day you want, but if it's filled with a bunch of people that's just soloing different things and chatting in guild here and there, chatting in guild chat, the game is going to lose its touch. And having people feel purpose with everything they can do and having your name on an object, we've been begging for this. And we think it's simple, right? Because we're not the developers. But
it always sounds
I know how serious it could be. But the fact that you guys are taking into consideration of it, guys, this is why this Kickstarter is the way it is. I know we're probably getting crunched for time, so I'm going to shoot out these next two questions.
We have some in-game footage, too, after we're done with you.
Sure. I have two more questions. Well, one more question, because we already answered the one that...
Okay.
Pretty sure everyone wants to know, and you probably get this question a lot, how deep is the character customization? Because that's extremely important, being an individual in the world and not looking like, Jared Sword 1 and Mr. I'm Gonna Kill You 3 looks exactly the same with a different hairstyle with different color. How deep is it?
I think you may have seen in the visuals we're showing of our game that aesthetics are a huge part of it. And if you have this beautiful world with no character customization, and you just have, like you said, Sword Joe 1 and 2 running around, it really breaks the immersion. Mm-hmm. So character customization is a huge part of what we're going to be allowing people to identify as when they're creating their character. We're going to have a lot of flexibility, range that people can play with when they're creating a unique character who they can identify with.
Awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think, you can see that a lot of our focus is on the aesthetic of the world, but we completely understand that at the end of the day, a large portion of it comes to yourself, right? You want to see the character that you imagine up here on the screen. And, we're cognizant of that, and we're completely behind that with our character customization,
100%.
I guess.
Yeah, and it's also going to include not just like what your character looks like, but what your character wears.
Yes.
There's going to be a large bevy of options and ways to show different appearances and customize what your armor looks like and do a lot of cool things like that to really kind of nail that look, that iconic look that you want for yourself.
Yeah.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it. So you have in-game
can't either.
in-game footage?
Yeah, we got some in-game footage.
All right, let's do it.
I think we have in-game.
I hope
well,
we
actually,
do.
it's not in-game footage. We have a live in-game player.
Okay.
Tristan,
Tristan, you ready?
are you ready?
Ooh. Oof. I like to say, I didn't mean to cut you off, but man, this game looks gorgeous. Oh.
So we can. What do you got?
Okay. Technical
Okay,
difficulties.
sorry, we had an audio technical difficulty. Could you not hear me on the stream? I don't think anybody could hear me on the stream. So let's.
You should be able to be here now.
Okay,
Oh, because you didn't have a... Gotcha, I got it.
got it. You got it.
Hold on a second.
Okay, give us a second, guys. Is it streaming right now? This picture?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay,
It looks like the levels are good.
levels are good on that. So when we switch to TeamViewer,
Yeah, that's what it was. And
and there's no
there's no like,
audio for that.
well, there's no clone of like the video that you guys are doing, so the hardware wasn't.
Right. So are we good now to show it? Or
Well,
okay. So give us a moment. What we're doing is we have the stream running off of one computer, and it would be really it would be a little difficult.
We could talk a little about Freehold if you want.
Yeah, that's fine. We're just getting the audio set up so that we can team view into Tristan's client for the game server.
All right, so audio should be good.
Are we good now with audio? Okay, audio check. Stream's good with audio? Yeah, Jennifer?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so I'm sorry, let me start again. What we're showing here is our in-game environment right now. Tristan's on a rogue, I believe. Yes, he's on a rogue.
He's on a road.
He's going to be moving through what our freehold system, basically. So our freehold system acts as player housing that's on a plot. And these plots can be laid out in the open world when a node develops to stage 3 or above. And at the stage 3 or above level, nodes have a zone of influence that encompasses a large portion of the world. This is where players are doing activities and killing monsters and questing and all that. Everything that you would do in an MMORPG is being done and being collected by the node and advancing in stages. And that's done in this ZOI. You as a player can lay this plot down as a freehold, and you can build up a house. You can build up farms. You can build up industry and windmills, and you can create your professions. Oh, I think there's there a baby deer pet in there?
I think there's a little baby deer.
There's a baby deer. Nice. I like I like the little baby deer. Basically, this freehold allows you to participate in the artisan class. It allows you to have a home that you can customize. It allows you to really do a lot of different things.
Now, if you take a look at there, the freehold is actually pretty sizable. It's intended to fit multiple buildings, and that's kind of the idea behind it, is that you can take this little plot of land and build it out however you want to. You could make it farming based. You could make it ironworking based. You could be, just have an inn here with your little house and maybe a
Right.
kitchen and some stables.
You can do some cooking, and you can feed people who visit your freehold with that food, and that food could give them a benefit in the area around them as they're XPing or doing quests and stuff.
Right, and so the idea is basically to give you not just a house, right? The house has been done, a house is very nice, but we want to give you an actual space to build out, more, and to give your space and identity in and of itself. And now he's going over to a different
What is this
type
one?
of freehold.
Oh, yeah.
Well, same freehold, different types of buildings.
Yes. Oh, okay. So again, there's a lot of different customization for the buildings that you can have, and those buildings have different applications, obviously, on your land. Tristan, where are you at? Take us over to that furnace. Yeah. Take us to the furnace. Are there any little deers here? No? Oh, that's sad. So you could be a smelter who processes ore that's gathered by a gatherer, and then you can sell that processed ore to an item creator in order to create some cool sword. But the freehold basically is a place where you get to identify as and your role in the game and a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and on these freeholds, you don't even necessarily need to build a house. You could make it completely industry-based.
Yes.
You could make it completely agriculture-based. You could just build a really awesome, huge home that fits in this entire area. So again, lots of options, some really cool stuff that I think we're doing there.
And this is all, for those of you who are joining us the first time, this is all pre-alpha gameplay in client right now.
Yeah, we're actually playing this live, so.
That is true. Tristan, give us a little jump. You can do a little jump? Okay, there you go. Very nice. So yeah, that's a little bit of our in-game footage. You want to bring us back, Michael?
Oh, we're back.
Oh, we're back. All right. And bacon.
Nice.
Wow.
The Baconator.
Wow, that was absolutely amazing. I mean, the look of the game, the feel of the game, I can already tell that the flow of the game is going to be beautiful. The movement looks very realistic. Can I ask a question that you may?
Sure.
Did you use motion cap
This is a
on the
Q&A.
characters, or were they processed through an artist purely?
We do a little bit of both, actually. We have an animator here,
Yeah.
David, and he's a very talented animator. He's worked on Call of Duty and Gears of War, and he does a lot of the animations and blends himself.
Yeah, that was incredible. And I was super excited about the rogue. That's my class. I play everywhere. So watch your baggage, people.
Hope we nail it, though.
Well, so if we have some more time, I can ask some more questions.
Sure, yeah, we have a little bit of
Okay,
time.
great.
Go ahead.
Okay, guilds. There's something I really want to hit on. Is very touchy for everyone. How will you make guilds just not be a collection of people? How will guilds be something to where it's a social aspect? A lot of games ruin that by adding instant ways to teleport to dungeons and extreme flying mounts, and you take all that social aspect out of the game. What are you guys doing to prepare for that and create something to where the social aspect becomes to be a home, a world where people can escape the everyday hustle and bustle of the real life, to feel like they can come and spend hours upon hours in game and not feel like it's just...
Dude, I think you just took the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what we want to accomplish with our game, not just necessarily our guild, but the game in general. But particularly about guilds. Myself, my personal history in MMORPGs and being a gamer for the past 25 years since I was 7 years old was that community aspect. I mean, it is so rare to our genre that you can participate in a community where you're talking with people from all over across the world, thousands of different people, people you would have never had the chance to interact with before, and you're problem solving and you're adventuring and you're advancing through this complex maze of intricate gameplay. And it was just what hooked me on the genre. And it motivated me to make sure that we could get back to that focus of community in Ashes of Creation. I think it's partly why you see our game has taken off so far, because when we first announced Ashes of Creation back in the middle of December, about 4 months ago now, I would say, 4 months ago, I was and still am heavily involved in participating in the community on the Discord, on our forums, on pretty much anything you can imagine, and it's because I want to make sure that the community is the central focus of Ashes of Creation, not just having an amazing game, but having a company that actually listens to and interacts with the community to hear and be in touch with what the players want to experience. And I think that's what's led to our stagnation in this genre, and why I'm so motivated. We're all so motivated to get back to making MMOs amazing.
Yeah, again.
Again.
Yeah, I mean, as far as guilds go and as far as community goes in general, it's we're trying to put in mechanics that encourage people to work together towards things. Whether that's in conflict or in cooperation, and that goes with guilds, right? Guilds can form alliances. Guilds have their own identities. Guilds can have their own guild houses.
They can level up. They have skills associated with them. They can participate in the sieging mechanics of castles. They can exert influence over the rest of the world. But they can also be, guilds that are more catered towards a little bit larger number. And then you have benefits if your guild is more focused on a smaller, close-knit community. And there are applications for both as an identity in our game. And I think sometimes in the past, when you have guild-centric games, they sometimes become Zerg fests. And absolutely, in our design philosophy, we are not going down the road of a Zerg fest. There will be appropriate mechanics that need knowledge, that need the application of smaller communities and larger communities working together in order to accomplish certain goals and to overcome mechanics. I mean, those are central to our guild philosophy.
And we think, the social aspect, we try to do that throughout every stage, right? I mean, social buildings, we want people to have a place that they call home and that they can go gather with friends. And if it's a tavern, you grab food, you grab a drink. If you go to a guild house, you're decorating it how you want. Your guild has a certain identity. If you're having elections in a node for the government structure, we want there to be player participation and basically a social aspect of, we're here and you play an MMO to play with players, right?
Yes.
So we understand that, and we want that to be important.
And that's within the guild and without the guild, right? If I'm a guildless person, I still have an identity with my node. I still have an identity, with the people who are around me in my local area. So it's at every level, and it's not exclusive to guilds.
And that's another reason why we're a non-faction based game. Because we don't want to separate communities. I mean, there's no reason to separate a community. You are one community, and you can direct your own agency over what peace and war means to you. You can cooperate or not cooperate. You can experience content together or not. That's entirely your decision as a player. And the most important aspect of this is, if this is something that's resonating with you as a viewer, right, that you get on board with supporting this project, because we need to tell the industry, hey, these are tenets that players want to see, right? And the best way to do that is to show them performance, right? If they see our project as they have on our first day or within 36 hours hitting $1 million on Kickstarter, and not having spent a dime on advertising, what does that communicate to the industry? Hey, listen up, watch. This is what we are saying is what's resonating with this genre. And the MMORPG genre is not dead. It's just had a drought of good development. I hate to say that, but it's just had a drought of good development, and I think that...
And a lot of that is the massively single-player problem, right?
Absolutely.
And it's in order for communities to stick together, they need to work together.
Yes.
And I think that's the bottom line as far as that goes.
Yep.
I mean, wow, you guys are giving us so much ear candy right now. It's insane. I mean, the thing that I see, I consider myself an observer, and I observe a lot. I really don't speak too much. I just like to react off of it. You guys are excited. You guys are in love with the genre. You guys are gamers, and that's huge for us, because a lot of people that consider themselves gamers back in the EQ days have kind of left that behind, to be honest with you. They want to develop the great game, but they're very much on that money grab situation, because they're looking at the market as, hey, we're MMO. People don't know what they want. They'll bark for one thing, go for another. We need to get as much money as we can and then work on the next project. But you guys seem like you are just dedicated. And I have to say that was very heartwarming to hear. Like, I was just, everything inside of me is getting all excited. And I tell my community, I said, don't get too hyped. Go in there with minimum hypeness. That way you won't be disappointed, But now I'm saying, guys, get hype in the chat, because this is insane. This is insane. All right. I think I got one more big question. Hopefully it doesn't go over. The world.
No, you're good.
Oh, great.
You're good.
All right,
Last
good.
question.
Thank you. The world. The world shapes everything. You can have an amazing PvP system, PvE system, whatever, but how is the world? Is it very linear? Are we going to walk it down a path? And what I've seen, I'm liking, but I don't want to jump to conclusions. Will it take time to walk from point A to point B? Is there a reason to continue to want to walk from point A to point B? Will there be teleportation to where you save at a node and you can walk miles and miles and just disappear and go there? Because the level of discovery and the environment and seeing it change, because you guys have seasons, to me, all that development goes to waste if someone's just teleporting around the map.
You're 100% correct. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have feelings about
Great
this.
question.
Yeah, so I mean, it's important to discovery is great, right? Like logging into the MMO the very first time, like you want to like feel like there's a world out there that's exciting and that you can find something that somebody else can't necessarily, and that's what we want from our world. What?
I'm sorry. No.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yes. Huh? Oh, sorry. We're running out of time. Go ahead. No. Go.
Okay, so I'll make this really quick. Yes. Yes. You're going to walk into the world, and there's not going to be a single path, a single road for players, right? As you go out and you find a good node that you want to establish with, and a bunch of players get together and they start leveling it up, then roads start to come out. That's where you get your path. There's not going to be a whole lot of fast travel. You're not going to be teleporting from node to node to node. You're going to have to actually make your way over there.
Yes.
It
all comes back to meaning, right?
Right.
Like I mean, everything in the game is purposeful and meaning oriented.
Right.
So, and that includes travel. That includes navigating this world, exploring this thing you've never experienced before, and we don't want you to just skip past that and port somewhere.
Exactly.
Especially because we're putting so much money into it, right?
Yes.
Like it's silly to put so much development time into this place that you're going to spend 10 minutes at and go on to the next one and never see it again.
Right.
Like that's pointless development to me.
And it doesn't mean that there's not applications for faster travel, but there's not fast travel.
Right.
I mean, if you have explored an area and you want to jump on a mount, obviously, and it's going to take you faster, that's a different story. But just going to a gatekeeper and saying, okay, here's 1,000 gold, okay, I'm going to port across the world, and then that's that.
And the word you use, discovery, I mean, it's an amazing question because that's exactly the word and concept that we've used a lot in design meetings about how we want discovery to come back up for the player. That if there's a mountain range that they had never seen, or like there's a dungeon that they are discovering, right? We want that to be something that matters to them in their narrative, and we want to build that for them so that they can.
And not only that, but the world is constantly changing. It's changing based on the activity of the players, and you deciding you don't want to take a certain path because you've been down there before, you're going to be missing out on what's changed on that path.
Right. You're not going to necessarily, I mean, the wiki problem is a huge problem for MMOs, right? Like once somebody's been down that path, what's the point in going and discovering it? So we've got things in place that will alleviate that somewhat. You're going to eventually know what the world looks like, but you're not going to necessarily know what is there in the world.
Yes.
Because that'll be changing based on what's happening with resources, based on what's happening with nodes, based on what's happening with certain dynamic dungeons that we're talking about.
Quests and the monsters that change,
so, yeah.
the tables, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm extremely impressed. I went in. I pushed towards the Kickstarter a lot more than I've done any other Kickstarter, and
good to hear it.
For what you guys have told me, I mean, it's you're bringing back like 7, 8, maybe even 15 years of my life that I've lost when it comes to the love of these MMOs, because the market has definitely changed, but you guys are bringing some light into it, and I just hope everything goes well, and I wish the best for you. And chat, you guys have to give it up for these guys. Like, you can still give, you can still help while you're playing these games. Please be sure to give them feedback, because I'm pretty sure they'll listen, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Absolutely. Yeah, get involved on our Discord. Register on ashesofcreation.com. If you haven't backed us, consider backing us. We want to tell that story that Ashes of Creation is, and the more people we have involved in our community, the more development we have in our community, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
the more games will follow our lead.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, I'm pretty sure my time is up, but I would like to thank you guys. Chat, this has been DJ Tech Live. Ashes of Creation, an amazing game. Get involved with the community. If you want an MMO, be involved in an MMO. Don't just talk about it. Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very
much.
Thank
you, sir. That was amazing.
Anything I can do for you guys, you let me know.
Thank you very much. All right. I think we may have just a time for maybe one or two questions, honestly, I know we put up something on our Ashes of Creation subreddit. If players have some questions that they would like to field to us, we'd be happy to answer them. The most votes gets your question answered. So let's go with the top question. We'll see if we have time.
Yeah, I think one of the big questions one by Ravix.
Ravix.
Hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. What is the general idea or feel for naval interactions
That's a good question.
for this region?
So I think that we just recently actually expanded with a stretch goal that we got for enhanced naval.
Right.
Or wait, are we doing that right now? We're still
That's
on
still
that.
up.
We're still,
Oh, okay.
still
We're in
up.
progress still for that.
Right.
Cool. So if we reach that goal, the idea we have for an enhanced naval interaction is going to be meaningful conflict again on the open seas. It's going to include expanding our trade routes to sea-based caravans. It's going to include additional content under the water that could have environments and aquatic nature and monsters and aquatic mounts that are going to be there and some treasure finding and
Yeah, so I mean, when this world fell back in the day, everything looked quite a bit different. And so this allows us to actually go and discover some of those parts that we wouldn't be able to really tell yet. So it's going to basically expand our ability to tell the entire story and get to some of those lost cities that may now be underwater.
That is a great point. Lore is very important. The story is extremely important for us. I mean, it is near and dear to all of our hearts. And that's going to expand our ability to tell the story under the water.
Under
the sea. Ooh, we can't do
Sorry.
that. It's copyrighted. No.
I'll go in my corner now. All right.
All right, guys. I think that's going to be it for
sorry,
time. We're sorry we didn't get to the questions.
We'll get to
on
those
Reddit.
questions next week.
Right. On Monday at 3 p.m. we have another live Q&A. We're going to be going into some more stuff. We're probably going to have some more in-game interaction. And honestly, from everyone here at Intrepid Studios, our heartfelt gratitude for the amazing support that everyone has been showing Ashes of Creation. Keep doing us a solid and get out there and spread the word for the game. The more support that we can get, the bigger community that we can get, the better it is for all of us as MMORPG fans. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, seriously, it's been amazing.
Yeah. Have
Thanks,
a great
you guys.
day.